Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an Aussie Drongo casted game. That's right, Aussie Drongo's back on the ranked ladder, and we're going to be casting one of his games today. Going to be immediately opening up with the Dark Aged Barracks here. Playing as the English, you are able to do this pretty effectively. But I think there's one thing Aussie's forgotten here. This build does not work up against one civilization, and it's the Rus. On the other side of the map, we've got Zhandu in the teal, and he is playing the Rus. So I'm very interested to see what Aussie's decision here is by going for these Vanguard Men-at-Arms, because this isn't something we see up against the Rus whatsoever. Because obviously the Rus, they collect their bounty through their scouts. They go about killing the deer on the map, and then, yeah, they don't need to move up for the gold. So the Men-at-Arm doesn't actually deny anything here. I mean, the best thing Aussie could do with the Men-at-Arm is actually go around and try and find the deer packs. It's going to be difficult for him to do so. They're behind the base of Zhandu. But, yeah, this is interesting, Aussie. This is interesting. I mean, if you're going to go about killing the deer with Men-at-Arms, you may as well just make scouts. I mean, you get more sheep from them. You get more vision. I guess you save the villagers. You know, you'd lose out on villagers, but going for a barracks and into Vanguard Men-at-Arms, and we can actually see Aussie camping the gold mine. I don't think he realizes he's up against the Rus. I think he's finally realized, and now targets away. He's looking for deer. I think he's just realized his fatal mistake here, wondering why there's no villagers on the gold. He's, where are the villagers? Wait a minute, what civilization am I up against? And then you click the little button at the top of your screen, and the little menu comes down, and it shows you you're playing up against the Rus. It's unfortunate there for Aussie, but we're gonna have to see what else he looks to do this game. I mean, English have just been changed so much in the most recent patch. There's just so many new things to discover with them. And we're gonna have to see if he looks to go for the Abbey of the Kings, because it's such a cool new fun landmark. Well, it's not a new landmark, it's a reworked landmark. But he's going to be going for that age up now. Actually, he's not. He's going for another Men-at-Arm. Aussie, you go for one, you stop, you have a little break, and then you go for another one? Interesting decision. Zhandu going to be running his scout underneath the town center here. That's a dead scout. There it goes. And that second Men-at-Arm going to be running out. Where is it? Oh, it's actually rallied over to the deer over here. So Aussie wanting to, yeah, so he's targeting around here. He wants to kill the deer, which Zhandu has yet to pick up. We'll take a look at his scouting pattern. Yeah, hasn't actually found it. What an unlucky scouting pattern right here. I mean, you wouldn't expect them to be right there. I mean, I guess you would. They're nowhere else on the map. I guess they could be here, but Zhandu should find that soon. We see he's got a scout back here. The only logical move with this scout would be to go back here. Yeah, there it is. But we can already see Aussie. Okay, not going to be moving that Men-at-Arm across, but we do have this one almost arriving. Scout going to be assisting that as well. Wheelbarrow also going to be coming through from Aussie as well. Very early Wheelbarrow here. Wanting to play it out quite long in the Dark Age here. We're going to have to see how that does for him. But we see Aussie still guarding this gold mine. He's hoping, he's praying that the Rus for some reason don't have enough bounty and come out to the gold, but yeah, that's not going to be the case. Zhandu going to be aging up now with the Golden Gates, and no Kremlin in this game, interestingly to see. Usually, well, I say usually, but I mean, the Golden Gate is still an amazing landmark, but we've been seeing a lot of Kremlin recently. Very, very strong new landmark. Interesting landmark as well. I would call this one, you know, it's good, but it's also quite boring. Zhandu going to be walling up quite heavily here. Now, this is an interesting choice up against the English. This would make a lot of sense up against the French, because obviously they have knights, but longbow here, they can just fire over the walls. So these walls really don't do a lot. However, the wooden fortress does. Now, Aussie going to be aging up with the council hall. This landmark's been slightly reworked. It's now an archery range. So you can train every archery range unit from it instead of just the longbow at a 100% efficient or 100% increased production speed, which is very nice. Not going to be the Abbey of the Kings, though, but honestly, the Abbey of the Kings up against the Rus, it doesn't make too much sense. You can't really get too many raids off that early on with the Knight. You got the Wooden Fortress, and Rus these days, they don't look to go for 2TC quite as much. I mean, it's still decent, but the Rus would most likely place it maybe back here. Quite possibly you could get away with a Knight, but you've already got the Men-at-Arms out, and they're going to be, you know, they're going to be patrolling around the base, doing their stuff. Aussie actually only has 2 villagers right there on the council hall. It's going to be going for quite a slow age up right there. Still on the gold as well. Is Aussie looking to do a bit of a fast castle here, possibly? I mean, it seems a bit risky up against the Rus. I mean, they're so far ahead on the age. Well, in saying that, they were still quite delayed. They went for quite a heavy early, you know, going for the Wooden Fortress, Lumber Camp as well. So, I mean, they were a little bit delayed, but they're still ahead. So, going for a stable now, if you're the Rus player, and looking to put a little bit of pressure onto Aussie would be a great idea, but not gonna be doing that today. Aussie making a little bit of a farm transition as you do with the English. Only a couple villages there on the wood. But yeah, this has to be a fast castle build from Aussie. It only makes sense. You know, 2 villagers here on the council hall, still stacking a lot of gold. And Jondu did actually scout that. We see his scout did run past the back of the base. So he should know what's coming. And it's a little bit late now, I feel, to start to put on the pressure. So I think Jondu is going to be going for the exact same approach as Aussie and going for the fast castle. The question is, what does Jondu look to do? Does he go for the good old Abbey of the Trinity? Or does he go for the High Trade House, which has received a few buffs? I mean, they're not that noticeable, but they do provide more deer. So that's, you got to remember, that's also plus 10 gold for each deer. So that's, you know, a little bit of bounty in there. And obviously the food source. Aussie not going to be losing his scout right there. Going to be walling up a little bit here, Jondu as well. Scouts going to be hitting off on each other right there. Aussie is going to have to retreat. Doesn't have the advantage there. He does have the Men-at-Arms still about, so he should be able to be alright when it comes to the scouting approach. And now Jondu's going for barracks. I think he wants to do a fast castle Men-at-Arms play here. But I mean, oh my goodness, look at this. Aussie Drongo going for the White Tower. This isn't a landmark we've actually seen the English use yet, for at least the games that I've casted. And this landmark is absolutely crazy now. It works 100% faster. And this is absolutely perfect for what Jondu's doing right here. I mean, it's perfect for Aussie, not so much for Jondu. Men-at-Arms will get absolutely crushed by the White Tower here. I mean, this is absolutely perfect what Aussie's doing here. I mean, this isn't so perfect, but we can ignore that, and we'll focus on over here. But the White Tower is an amazing choice right here, and I think we'll see Aussie going into Knights. There it is, Knights. Okay, it just makes sense. Aussie has scouted this out. He's had scouts nearby. He would have spotted this barracks coming down, and now as if you're playing the English, going into Knights here, this is 2 stables right here. This is 2 stables that you've just constructed that has 20 population garrisonable space. I mean, this is perfect out of Aussie right here. I mean, the reason we haven't been seeing the White Tower as much with other English games is because the King's Palace is still such a great landmark. King's Palace received some buffs as well. Got an extra 2,500 HP. Now, Aussie Drongo going to be moving around with that Knight. Jondu was not expecting this. Going to be losing a villager right there. Not all of those villagers can fit inside. Aussie about to get Iron Under Mesh in. Going to be able to help underneath that town center and Wooden Fortress Fire, but still a lot of damage on that Knight right there. High Trade House is up for Jondu. And not all villagers can work on that. That's a little bit of a problem by killing the deer so close to the building. But Aussie still moving in with the Knights. Have a look at that. Spearman in response from Jeonju. So not going to be going for the men-at-arm play we suspected, and you can't up against this. What Aussie Drongo has right here is just, you know, a perfect counter to men-at-arms. So Jeonju's had to go into Spearman here. And right now, oh no, Jeonju being pushed off the deer up north as well. Gonna be pulling some villagers as well. Not looking too good for Jeonju right here. Spearman trying to take out this Vanguard men-at-arm right here. Knight still taking out villagers. Aussie has an 8 villager lead right now. Despite going for the early men-at-arm rush, you would have thought Aussie would be in a terrible position, but no, he's in a great position right now with the White Tower. Taking out both of the scouts there, denying all the vision. And actually pumping out some longbow behind this. Longbow able to take out these men-at-arms with ease. Not the men-at-arms, sorry, the spearmen. So what is this response from Jeonju? It's going to be crossbowman. And this feels absolutely terrible as a Rus player. I mean, I'm a Rus main, and trust me, you do not want to be in your base with spearman crossbow at this point of the game. Up against the English as well. You need to be putting on the aggression, and oh, Jeonju. Oh man, there's 7 villagers just sitting here, all idle because of a Vanguard men-at-arm. Only hardened spearman for Jeonju as well. Doesn't actually have the veterancy upgrade quite yet. Doesn't actually have access to any gold. He can sell some for the Golden Gate. He bought food. Jeonju buying food from the Golden Gate. That's a mistake you never want to be making. Well, at this point in the game, at least. You want to be selling the food, really, and grab your upgrades in. But Aussie looking in a great position right now with the 4 longbow, the 4 knights. More knights still on the way. And I mean, the power of the White Tower here just feels so nice. You know, this is better than the School of Cavalry for the French. But Jeonju's going to have a real problem here up against the longbow from Drongo. I mean, it just counters his whole composition right now. He's going to have to add in some sort of horseman into this. I think horseman is his best choice. He could go for knights of his own. But we can see Aussie's already starting to add in a couple crossbowmen. May have just been a misclick, but you can train them from the council hall for that extra speed as well. We see that only 11 seconds to train a crossbowman. So both of the production buildings here for Drongo train units incredibly quickly. Just doesn't need any more production. And behind this, he's making a farm transition and mining a lot of gold for those knights. He's on the deer. And now going to be moving a villager. Oh, is he going for a chop through? I think he might be. Jeonju is able to wall this up in time, but is he going to notice the chop through coming through? Aussie going to be losing a couple knights here. The spearman and the crossbowman catch them off guard. Still only hardened spearman though, you got to remember. And Jeonju mining quite a bit of stone. I think he wants to go for a keep drop. Unless he wants to drop another TC. And there we see. Well, I don't think that was even his villager. I think his villager, yeah, his villager's still up here. That was just a hole in the wall right there. Oh, poor Jeonju. Villagers taking the daggers out right there. Able to do quite a bit of damage up against the longbow, but I mean, they're taking so much damage themselves. These knights having a field day right here up against the villagers. Jeonju is able to clean up the knights though. The crossbows on the back line are able to clean them up while the villagers act as a front line. But I mean, look at the villager difference already. Aussie almost 17 villagers ahead. I mean, behind this, he could even think about going Imperial at this point. I mean, he's got the farms ready. Might struggle a little bit on the gold. He is going to have to advance out maybe over here. But not a big deal for him. He's still got a few knights, a few crossbow on the field. And there we see more idling time coming through for those villagers on the deer. But Aussie could honestly think about going Imperial behind this. Maybe we could see a forward Berkshire. Or maybe even a Wingard. I mean, the Wingard changes are just crazy. Crazy stuff. Especially Wingard Rangers and Wingard Footmen. 2 new unique units for the English. Basically just better longbow and better men-at-arms. But they are still classed as unique. And Jeonju is actually going for that third town center. It's not even a third town center. This is his second town center, sorry. And a monastery. I mean, this makes sense. He needs to catch up with the villagers, but at this point in time, it feels rough. I mean, Ozzy's ahead in villagers. He's ahead in military. Well, they're even, but he's got the more expensive units with the knights. He's got the better economy. He's got the defensive landmark up here, and Ozzy going to be going to horsemen now as well. Both players are looking to capture up some relics. Jeonju should have a slight advantage here. Playing the Roost, you get the warrior monk. Slightly faster than your regular old monk. But I mean, yeah, it's going to be difficult for Jeonju to pick up the relics with all of these horsemen on the field. And the knights. I'd be very surprised, actually, if Jeonju gets any relics. He might be able to pick up this one. And possibly even this one in the south. But apart from that, it's going to be very, very difficult. Now, is he going to be dropping down a stable with this as well? So the White Tower cannot keep up with the production here. I mean, 11 seconds for a horseman. That is crazy, crazy fast. Stable going to be assisting that as well. Ozzy's got full upgrades for the ranged defense. And that's exactly what he wants up against the mass crossbow. And it means you can just dive underneath these town centers as well. Spring-Road emplacement through for Jeonju. Spring-Road emplacement very, very effective up against these ranged units. Jeonju looking to push out. Still yet to grab veterancy upgrades on these spearmen. Ozzy he can just kite here with the crossbow and the longbow. The few knights and horsemen here should be enough to deal with this army if they decide to push out once again. Especially with more horsemen joining the party. Ozzy yet to grab his veterancy upgrades in yet for the horsemen. Doesn't even seem like he's thinking about this upgrade. Very, very important upgrade to grab. There we see Ozzy going to be grabbing 2 relics. Jeonju yet to pick up 1. Ozzy being very, very clever right there. Picking up his enemy's relics before his own. Makes a lot of sense. You don't want your enemy picking up these relics. And it's a lot easier to defend the ones back in the base. Agriculture now coming in for Ozzy. Jeonju trying to go for a forward wooden fortress. He's pushing out with the army. But this is a horrible mistake. The spearmen are just going to get focused down by the crossbowmen. And that's going to lead this mass of ranged units up for grabs from the horsemen and the knights. Granted, these are not upgraded horsemen. So these should get killed relatively easy. But it's the knights you got to worry about. We got archers in here for Jeonju as well. Unupgraded. These guys are just going to get absolutely slaughtered. Villagers going down. 3 of them managed to survive, hopping inside of that wooden fortress. And surprisingly, this isn't a terrible fight for Jeonju. And I've got to say, I think that's down to Ozzy not upgrading his horsemen right here. But still, Ozzy does become victorious in that fight. And I mean, it may have been a slightly better trade for Jeonju, considering how many expensive, horsemen and knight units were in there. But Jeonju lost more villagers behind that. Jeonju is on 2 TCs as well. Villagers being idled over here as well. Oh yeah, Ozzy going to be trading some rams now from the White Tower. A new feature in this patch. We're able to train rams from production buildings, such as siege workshops and keeps for the English. So Ozzy not going to be wasting that 125 gold, 50 wood on siege engineering. Instead, just going to be producing it from the White Tower. Archery range is going to get dropped down as well. Just mass crossbow coming out from Ozzy right now. Which I honestly find kind of surprising. I mean, there's not a lot of heavy units on the field, and you've got knights to deal with the few men-at-arms that are in there. So if I'm Ozzy, I would just be going mass longbow. But nonetheless, Ozzy's plan still stands pretty good. Not grab the veterancy upgrades on the horseman. Couple crucial mistakes right there, not grabbing your upgrades. Villagers also going to get pulled here to take out the ram, and Ozzy's just going to be focusing down those villagers. You can see just the difference right there. Jeondu is actually starting to catch back up, and with Ozzy taking fights like that, which weren't exactly the best for him, Jeondu could come back into this. Ram going to get taken out for him as well. 250 wood gone. Wooden Fortress has its Springled emplacement in now. But I see the real issue for Jeondu is going to be when this gold mine depletes. But in saying that, there's still almost, you know, there's over 3,500 in there, and he's actually got one up north as well. But Jeondu still yet to make a farm transition. He's got the high trade house here, making him 100 gold a minute. With the 10 gold per deer, and then obviously the 350 food from each deer. And now Jeondu can actually return back over here. I feel like Ozzy really needs to put the pressure on up north. He knows about the resources up here. You know, you got the berries, you got the deer, you got the gold. But for the time being, he's going to be just massing up out the front of the base. Another wooden fortress coming through from Jeondu. I hope that's how you pronounce the name, by the way. But before this game, I did load up Google Translate and press the little text-to-speech button, and it was like Jeondu. So that's the way I've been pronouncing it. I hope that is correct. I believe it's a French name. Apparently, I think I saw a little picture of some French football player. I don't know a whole lot about football, so maybe I'm mispronouncing this name, but anyway, back to the game. Jeondu going to be grabbing himself the veterancy upgrades for the archers. We see he's gone quite heavy into archers. And honestly, usually this isn't a great idea in the Castle Age up against the English, but I mean, Ozzy's going for only crossbowmen, so makes sense. But I think his real problem here is going to be the Mangonel. Jeondu has no answer to this. Doesn't even have a siege workshop down. And now Ozzy's going to be starting his push into Jeondu's base. Finally grabbed the veterancy upgrades in for his horsemen as well. Double Springled emplacements in. I don't think that's going to change too much. I mean, the mass here for Drongo is just looking so strong right now. No veterancy upgrades in for the spearmen. And there's a lot of knights here, a lot of horsemen, and a lot of ranged units for these units to tear through. Mangonel getting off some good shots right there. Jeondu trying to focus it down, but he doesn't have a lot to deal with it. Jeondu needed a good wraparound on that Mangonel, and now, at this point in the game, I really don't see any comeback. Ozzy now stacking up so much gold as well. He's got enough food, food per minute to get an Imperial Age behind this as well. He's just looking so strong at the moment, but honestly, he could just finish the game at this point. Ozzy still looking so strong. Villagers in this wooden fortress going to get taken out soon. More horsemen going to be running in. Jeondu's trying his best here. More reinforcements coming through. He just doesn't have anything to deal with these knights, with the cavalry here. He's trying more spearmen, but they're still only the hardened variant. Jeondu didn't even get to pick up any relics. Ozzy has all 5 in the bank, as well as a sacred site. That's where he's getting all this gold from. Now going to be grabbing his decarbonization upgrade as well. 7 villagers sit inside this wooden fortress. I mean, Jeondu's done a good job catching up with the villager count. That second town center really did pay off, but definitely hurts when you're losing villagers like that. And now Ozzy takes that villager lead by quite a substantial amount once again. Jeondu going to be grabbing some blacksmith upgrades now, but this is really not what you want to be grabbing at this point in time. When you got a mass like this, blacksmith upgrades really don't mean too much. You really just want to be pumping out those units. And Ozzy's White Tower build looking so strong right now. Going to be producing some more rams. I really like what he's done here. I mean, apart from the Dark Age barracks, but honestly, up against any other civilization, I think this is really strong. It's kind of like the Mongols, what they used to do with tower rushing. A tower rush into a fast castle. I think that's sort of what Aussies attempted to do here with the barracks, and it's paid off. But maybe you just didn't get quite as much value from those men-at-arms. But we got Sacred Site Victory approaching now, as well as the Wingard Palace in the back of the base. Maybe we see some new units coming out, but I don't see Zhondu sticking in this for too much longer, as Aussie is now pushing into the base. Mangonel, 2 rams. Sprung emplacements really not going to be affecting too much here for Zhondu. He's trying his best to mass up here, but still lacking some upgrades in. Aussie's pretty much got full blacksmith upgrades here, apart from the balanced projectiles upgrade. May want to grab that considering how many crossbows he's got. But Aussie now just going in for a full surround here, and he's able to do it. The Mangonel on the backline as well, able to just do so much damage. Siege Workshop being dropped down for Zhondu. A little bit late now at this point in time. He needed this earlier on. Needed that sprinkled out much earlier. And now the landmarks are going to get started to be focused down by Drongo. Golden Gate next, followed by the High Trade House. Wingard Palace is about to be constructed as well. I mean, so many win conditions here for Drongo that are now open to him. Sacred sites, it's going to be very tricky for Zhongo. I ain't saying that. You can probably just move a villager out. Aussie probably wouldn't notice, but... And there it is. GG gets called. Aussie Drongo takes the victory with his White Tower build. Well, if you did enjoy this, please do feel free to leave a like. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.